Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about a recent news that is coming from the India's neighboring country, one of the most important neighboring country, that is Myanmar, also referred by the earlier name of Burma. So the ethnic group which has been operating in the coastal areas of Myanmar, they have claimed that now they have complete control of Myanmar border that lies along the Bangladesh. So what is the recent development, or what are the steps, what is actually going on in this region? Let us try to understand in more detail. So to give you the context of this particular topic, the Myanmar's ethnic armed group, that is also referred by a popular name of Arakan Army or AA, it has claimed that now almost the entire Myanmar's border, which almost we can say is length of the border is almost 270 kilometers, that border region now lies completely within the control of this particular armed group. Due to this, the military junta that is currently ruling the Myanmar after successfully causing a coup in the Myanmar after toppling the civilian government, it has caused further pressure on the military, and the opponent elsewhere across the country is also rising up against Myanmar's military government, and it has to fight a war at many different fronts now. AA fighters, that is Arakan Army, I told you as the name of this army group is, or the armed rebellion group is called, they have seized swaths of territory in the state that is home to both. We talk about the Myanmar's border, that is coastal area where you have the ports, Sitwe port, one of the most important port, plus many other ports are there where the project is being backed by both powerful countries which are the neighbor of India, which are the neighbor of Myanmar, that is India and China. Now obviously the security of port can also be threatened in the near future. So India has security implications as well as far as this development is concerned. Now before going and delving further into the issue, let us try to understand the geography of Myanmar. So as discussed, Myanmar is one of the most important neighbor of India, as the entire northeast of India we can see is having a land border with Myanmar, and it is this land border along which lot of insurgent groups have also been operating since a long period of time. They have been also using the Myanmarese region across the border as their hiding spot, the most notable of them being the Naga insurgent groups. So if talk about Myanmar, this is the overall map of Myanmar. It has border in the north with India, a small border, this region as you see here, this is the border that lies along with Bangladesh, which has been captured by the rebels, and then it shares a large land border with the China and many other South Asian countries such as Laos and Thailand. So very important country in the Southeast Asia and in the neighborhood of India. Now in the Myanmar, the region that we are talking about where this development has happened is what we call as the Rakhine region, or it is one of the coastal state called as Rakhine state of Myanmar. The region that you see here is the region given in the red color, and this orange color region, the orange shaded region that you see here, is referring to the Bangladesh along which the Myanmar's borders lie. And one of the most important cities of Bangladesh here that you have is the Cox's Bazar. So this development has happened along this red orange area, or along the boundary of this red orange area. Here you can also see the capital of Myanmar has been mentioned, which is called as Naypyidaw. Earlier the capital was Yangon, but later on it has been shifted to the Naypyidaw city. Now the captured territory, if we try to understand in more detail, as I told you, that along the northern part of Rakhine state where it is having a border with Bangladesh, and here you have a flow of a river called as Naf river, that is the area which has been captured here. So the group had completely controlled the region. If we talk about the name of that particular territory that is situated here, as you can see on the map, this is called as Mongdaw. So the Mongdaw region has been completely taken control of by the rebel Arakan Army, a district that is home to more than 100,000 people according to the last census that was conducted in Myanmar. So this is the area of interest. You have Bangladesh, you have Myanmar, and that is where the development is going on. Now if we try to understand the background, that what is the problem or the internal disturbances that the Myanmarese people and the country is facing. So the disturbance began somewhere in the year 2021 when you have earlier a civilian government led by Nobel Peace Prize winner Aung San Suu Kyi, and her government was toppled or thrown in a coup attempted by the military general of Myanmar that time called as Min Aung Hlaing. Now if we talk about this particular 2021 coup, what has happened, if you look in more detail, so Union Solidarity and Development Party, a party which is considered as a proxy party of Myanmar's military, it was not able to get the desired percentage of vote to form the government. And as a result of this, they arrested the Aung San Suu Kyi, who was a legitimate leader of Myanmar, who actually has won the election by the popularity vote of the people of Myanmar. So her party, which is called as National League for Democracy, and other parties which were opposed to the military-led party, their activists, their politicians, they were arrested in a single sweep and they were put under the house arrest, and the Myanmarese government, then Myanmarese military we can say, then took charge of the Myanmar, and that is when we can say the entire disturbance that has begun here. Now, as a result of the non-acceptance of the will of people, what has happened? The parties, that is National League for Democracy, it has established along with other political parties a government in what we can call as a parallel government called as the National Unity Government. And National Unity Government is the one that has declared war on the military junta, the military rule which they consider to be unconstitutional or what we can call as against the wishes of the people, and thus to enforce their what we can call as the political cloud, they have formed an armed division known as the People's Defence Force. Now, this is very important force because this is the force that represents the opposition parties of Myanmar, and that is why when we talk about the situation that has been going on for past few years in Myanmar, the situation is nothing short of the civil war, where the military junta or military junta of Myanmar, which currently leading the country, is fighting a war with the legitimate ruler or legitimate politicians or political parties of Myanmar who has been elected by the people themselves. Now, interestingly, you also have to understand that Myanmar, though it seems to be a very small country, especially in the comparison with India, it is having a huge ethnic diversity. So, first of all, if you look at the ethnic groups of Myanmar, the majority of Myanmarese people belong to the Burman or Bamar group, which makes up 68% of the total population. Second largest group is the Shan group, that is 9%. Then we have Karan, that is 7%. Now, this interesting to talk about the Rakhine group, which makes up the 4% of total Myanmarese population. This is the group from which the Arakan or to which the Arakan army basically belongs to, which is the topic of discussion today. Then apart from that, you have Chinese, Mon, and interestingly Indian people also make up 2% of the total Myanmarese population. 5% is different other groups that we can talk about. So, in Myanmar, the problem is also not of a civil war between military and civilian. There also has been large scale clashes which has been observed between the majority group and the minority group or ethnic based classes that we can see. It is in this context you also can remember the several years back India has faced a problem of Rohingya refugees. So, Rohingya also belong to Myanmar, however, they were ethnically persecuted as they were considered to be someone who has migrated from Bangladesh to Myanmar, and by Myanmarese people they were not considered, or by Myanmarese military government they are not considered as the original inhabitant of the Myanmar. Now, if you look at the Arakan army, which has taken control of the border regions at Bangladesh, so this is a military wing of the ethnic Rakhine community. As you discussed before, they make up 4% of total Myanmarese population, and this rebel group, if you talk about, it was started, founded and led by a student activist somewhere in the year 2009. The person is called as Tuan Marant Naim. Okay, the name obviously, maybe I am pronouncing it wrong, but he was the one who led and founded the Arakan army. The first fighter that the Arakan army recruited was the jade miner. Jade, as you know, is a very precious stone that is mined in the Arakan or Rakhine region of Myanmar. So, they were the one who joined as a fighter first. Then army also sought shelter with the Kachin Independence Army, which is fighting against the military junta of Myanmar in the northern part of Myanmar, northern region of Myanmar. 2019 was when it attacked several infrastructure of the government, due to which the Aung San Suu Kyi, who was the leader of Myanmar that time, began or allowed the army or asked the army to crush this group. However, due to this, a ceasefire was agreed with the civilian government of that time. However, after 2021 coup, when the civilian government was toppled and military junta came back into power, in 2022, the Arakan army then broke this ceasefire agreement and has been an active participant and fighting against the illegitimate rule of military junta since last 3-4 years. And it is in this context, it has been able to take a large swath of territory in the coastal regions of Myanmar. Now we talk about the significance of the Rakhine state. So on the map, obviously we have seen it is the coastal region of Myanmar which is hosting many of the important ports of Myanmar, the most important being the Sitwe port, on which India is also largely dependent upon and is looking forward to connect to the northeastern region of India. So it has now emerged as a focal point for Myanmar's nationwide civil war and pro-democracy guerrillas, as we have discussed in before, people defense forces, that was armed group formed by the National Unity Government. So these guerrillas and the ethnic minority, the Rakhine minority, the Arakan minority that we are talking about, they have joined hand together and now they are single-handedly fighting the country's military rulers, and their main demand is that they do not want to remain part of Myanmar anymore. They want autonomy for their own Rakhine region or Rakhine state, and that is what you can call as the issue on which they are largely fighting upon. So since November 2023, a large scale control of the Arakan the Myanmarese region in the Rakhine state has been gained by the Arakan army. We talk about total 17 townships are there, out of which today 11 townships are in the control of Arakan army itself, along with one in the neighborhood of the Chin state, that is another state of Myanmar. And another major region that in future many experts believe will fall in the hands of Arakan army is the significant regions of Un. Now, if we talk about the Un, it is a very strategically important military headquarters. We talk about the Western Command of the Myanmarese military. Its headquarters is situated in the An region, and in few weeks to few months, it is expected that it will entirely fall and will be taken control of by the Arakan army. So this is the future development that we can expect. So this is what exactly is going on. Now, if we talk about the concerns that India can have, first of all, obviously, the India will have problem of refugee problems, Rohingya refugee problems, because the Arakan army is living or is operating in the same areas where generally the Rohingya population has been living, and that is why it is believed that they also are someone who might persecute the Rohingyas, as the Arakan army largely belong to the Buddhist groups. So this can also create a problem for the India in the future. Plus, obviously, due to the instability prevailing in the entire Myanmar, there can be a problem on the northeastern borders of India, where many insurgent groups might take advantage of the situation and can again increase the intensity of attacks for their own individual demand. So one question, UPSC based question that can be asked, because this is the area news and places and news is something from where UPSC asks map based question. So one such question we can look at is the Arakan mountains or Rakhine mountains situated along the coast of which of the given countries? So very easy question, Bangladesh, India, Myanmar and Thailand. Now also this topic is relevant for the general studies paper 2, where you have to study the bilateral relations of India with its neighboring countries. So such development is also you can use to formulate your answers in the mains examination. However, this is all for this particular video. I hope you got the gist of the developments going on in Myanmar. Thank you very much.